Hi, this is Sue Jackson of the Book by Book blog, and I'm here today with another Friday Reads. I was on vacation last week, so this is kind of a big catch-up. So I'm going to try to go a little more quickly than I normally do and not give as much detail on each book. You can look, I did a short while I was camping, you can see that. And check out my trip vlog from the vacation. We were camping in Virginia, had a wonderful time. So the vlog is full of beautiful videos and photos of nature, kayaking, hiking, camping, plus some sightseeing as well. So most of the time while I was camping, I was reading The Half Moon by Mary Beth Keane. She is the author of Ask Again Yes, which I read in February as a buddy read with Nikki at Red Dot Reads. Absolutely loved Ask Again Yes, so I was really looking forward to this. I should mention that all of my books, almost all of them, are focused on Booktopia. That's the event I attend every spring in Vermont at the Manchester Bookstore. So I'm going to get to meet the author in, today's Thursday. I leave next Thursday. So there won't be any Friday reads next week, but look for a vlog when I get back from Booktopia. So very much looking forward to meeting her. Like Ask Again Yes, this is a book that really digs deep with lots of emotional depth about relationships between people, about families, in particular with this one, about marriage. So it's about a couple who have been married about maybe 15 years, I think. And they've been through a lot of rough stuff, including 7 very difficult years of infertility treatments. And at the beginning of this book, as it opens, Jess has left her husband, Malcolm, temporarily. She says she needs some time to think and to be away. Malcolm runs a bar called the Half Moon in their small town. It's the same town that's in Ask Again Yes, the fictional town of Gilham. And so, and most of this book takes place during a 1-week period when there is a massive snowstorm that knocks power out and basically strands people in the town, in their homes. But during that week, there's a lot of flashbacks to what happened in the past. So you see how they met, how Malcolm came to own the bar, which is a part of the reason why Jess left. So I know that all sounds pretty grim. And partway through it, that's what I was thinking. This is pretty grim. As with Ask Again Yes, she wraps it up beautifully. It's a wonderful ending. It's thoughtful. You know, just like in her previous novel, she's writing about life, about love and loss and grief and healing. It's about life. And I really like books like that. So I did enjoy The Half Moon. I think Ask Again Yes is still my favorite, but that may be because of the buddy read. I loved talking it over with Nikki. So I'm looking forward to meeting Mary Beth Keane and talking to her about both books. Since it is National Poetry Month, I also started a book of poems, 1,000 Mornings by Mary Oliver. Now, you should know, first of all, that I am not a poetry person generally. I've tried before in previous Aprils. I've read parts of Walt Whitman, Langston Hughes, Robert Frost, but in each case, I liked some of the poems, but didn't really connect with them very well. So I picked Mary Oliver because my friends, Chris and Emily at the Book Cougars podcast, they are Booktopia people, so I've known them for a long time. And on their podcast, they're frequently talking about Mary Oliver. They have read some of her poems on the podcast. And they mention that she often focuses on nature. So I chose this one particularly for its focus on nature. And because it's very short, I figure even I could do this. And I'm enjoying it. You can see the tabs in it. Those are poems that really spoke to me, that I really liked. I'll read you the first one because it's very, very short. That's another thing I like about these. And I like how thoughtful her poems are about life and humanity and what it's like to live. So this first poem is called I Go Down to the Shore. I go down to the shore in the morning, and depending on the hour, the waves are rolling in or moving out. And I say, oh, I am miserable. What should I do? And the sea says in its lovely voice, excuse me, I have work to do. And several of her poems have that kind of a theme, that we humans get so caught up in our heads and we overthink things and we get upset over trivial things. And if you open your eyes and look around you, you can see nature at its own pace, doing its own thing, regardless of what humans are doing. So I'm really loving that kind of theme and her others. And I'm enjoying this so far. I've been reading 2 poems a day, so I'm doing pretty well. And I hope to finish it by the end of the month. So this week I started another Booktopia book, 50 Beasts to Break Your Heart by Gemma Rose Nethercott. So apparently she writes a lot of like fairy tales, folk tales, fantasy. Not typically my thing. Now this is a collection of short stories, but you notice I'm reading it because the booksellers at Northshire Bookstore always choose fabulous books and authors. So even if they're outside my usual comfort zone, I'm always willing to give them a try. So far, there's not much fantasy really so far. It's more about humans in some sort of weird circumstances and places. There's a blurb on here from Kelly Link. Now, Kelly is a previous Booktopia author and who also writes short stories that are a little weird. Real life people, but with some little twist that is fantastical or magical. And I absolutely loved Kelly's stories. So Kelly says, real magic, real delight, doled out generously in the shape of wistful, ferocious, this world but better stories. So I've read the first 2 so far, and they're a little dark. And the first night of the day that I was reading this, I had horrible dreams. And with my chronic illness, vivid dreams are always an issue. So I've become kind of a wimp about what I read or watch before bed. I would never watch a horror movie. So, and this is, well, I don't know, it's horror adjacent so far. And yeah, so I've made the decision to only read this at nap time during the day. And I've started another Booktopia book to read in the evenings. But it's good so far. The writing's very good. The characters are interesting. Some very creative situations. So I'm definitely going to read more of it. And just last night, I started My Beloved Life by Amitava Kumar. So I know very little about it so far, except that apparently he's a best-selling author. I hadn't heard of him before. But again, this is what Booktopia does. It helps us discover some new authors. There's the author, who I will get to meet in a week. So this is about the life of a man named Jadoo. That's kind of his nickname, a shortened version of his full name, in India. And it begins in 1935 with Jadoo's birth. So it's divided into 4 sections, each focusing on a different person. Sections 1 and 3 focus on Jadu. Section 2 is about Jagnu, who I think is his daughter, and section 4 is Mati, who is a grandchild, I believe. So it's looking at 3 generations of this family, beginning in India, but I think some of the younger generations travel and live elsewhere, including the United States. I've heard from other booktopians that they really enjoyed this, so I'm looking forward to it. Very quickly, I finished 2 audios last week. The first I talked about on my last Friday reads from 2 weeks ago. You Are Here by Karen Lynn Greenberg. This is another Booktopia book. I was lucky enough to get it on audio, and I really enjoyed it. It is kind of a slice of life sort of book, about a novel, about the lives of very different people that all intersect at this old, ready to close down mall in Albany, New York. So there is a hairdresser and her 9-year-old son. There's an elderly woman who comes to the hair salon. The elderly woman lives next door to the man that works in the bookstore. He lives with his wife and 2 kids in a tiny house in his in-laws' backyard next door to the woman who gets her hair done at the salon. And there's also a teenage girl who dresses in a chicken suit in the food court. That's her job. And all of these people, their lives intersect here in the mall. It was very, very good. Again, the kind of book I really like, with a lot of emotional depth to it. There's one really tragic, traumatic thing that happens partway through the book, but it ended beautifully. I loved the way the reader wrapped things up, and it was great on audio. So definitely recommend that. If you want to hear more about it, look back on my Friday reads from 2 weeks ago. And finally, my husband and I listened to an audiobook on our road trip. We always do that. This time we listened to Almost Midnight by Paul Doran. I don't know how to say his name. I'll have to look that up. He is a mystery thriller writer who writes about a Maine game warden named Mike Bowditch. My husband has read the first book in this series. I gave that to him as a gift at one point, maybe even the second, but I had never read any of them. This, I think, was book 10. If I'm wrong, I'll write it down here. And so set in Maine, mystery thriller, and here there are 2 mysteries going on. One dealing with a human, a friend of the main character, who's in prison. The other dealing with a half wolf, half dog that's been shot, that Mike somehow knows from, probably came up in previous books. So very good mystery thriller. Both mysteries were suspenseful, twisty. You know, we didn't know how they'd turn out. And I loved, because this is about a game warden, I loved the focus on nature and the outdoors, even though it's set during the winter in Maine. So, you know, kind of a dismal season, but there's still a lot of detail about the outdoors and his surroundings and the natural world. So I did enjoy that. And so did my husband. And talk about perfect. When we pulled up to our driveway with our camper at the end of the trip, we had 1 minute left on the audio. So yes, we were very anxious to get home, but we did finish that one. My husband was like, we need to turn it off. And I said, there's 1 minute left. So we did finish it. Perfect timing. So that's what I've been reading and we've been reading this week. Please let me know in the comments down below what you've been reading.